Something for you to chew on both literally and figuratively. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but it's in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so you're not going to the doctor's office, you're not going to have any awkward conversations, you're not going to go to the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. Listen to how simple this process is. You sign up at BlueChew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days, and the best part, it's all done online. So, visit BlueChew.com. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WGN at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code WGN, to receive your first month free.
Get road trip ready in a Chevy SUV. Now get 0% APR financing plus no payments for the rest of the summer on select Chevy SUV models. It doesn't get any lower than zero. Go to ChevyDriveChicago.com for details and hit the road.
Accidents happen, and when they do, you need the best legal representation to fight for you or a loved one. That's why the attorneys of Miller & McGing are here to serve you. Whether it's auto, truck, motorcycle, or bike accidents, medical negligence, nursing home abuse and neglect, construction site accidents, wrongful death, or mesothelioma, the attorneys of Miller & McGing are the right choice. Experienced with proven results. Call today, 773-467-8000. That's 773-467-8000.
Hey, this is Dean Richards. Sunday morning, we're keeping an eye on all of the news, sports, and steamy weekend weather. Plus, I'm one-on-one with director M. Night Shyamalan, talking about his new movie, Old. Dean Richards, Sunday morning, beginning at 9.
WGN. 720 WGN. It is Let's Get Legal, powered by the Illinois State Bar Association. Dane Neal here with you. In studio, we have attorney Stephen A. Leahy. Stephen, welcome to the show. Let's see which mic you're on. Here you go.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you're here. So we've talked a little bit about some of the things that are on the either in the headlines or the front of the newspapers, and maybe everyone can relate to or is interested in. It's kind of sensational, but the things that people are dealing with in a lot of different ways related to the IRS and income and child tax credit, that's something that's brand new. I don't know that it's ever happened before, and people are kind of figuring out, okay, well, maybe I'm eligible for this. Maybe we can get this. How do we get this? And then how do you manage it too? Because there's a few different things. So when it comes to the child tax credit, just your thoughts as a guy who deals with this stuff on a regular basis. Have people been coming to you with questions saying, well, what's it all about?
There's a lot of questions about the child tax credit because, as you mentioned, it's new, right? And so the IRS never gave money out like this, where they just before you used to have to wait till you filed your tax return, and then there was a credit. And that credit now is being distributed over monthly payments. So let's first talk about what the difference between a credit and a deduction is, because a lot of people don't understand that, right? So if I get a deduction, I deduct that from my income, and then I calculate my tax from there. A credit is money that is dollar for dollar. So if I had $6,000 in taxes and I got a $2,000 child tax credit, which was before this year, it was $2,000, then I would only pay $4,000 in taxes. So that's a big difference. And so now they raised that child tax credit from $2,000 to as much as $3,600 for children under 4 and $3,000 for kids over 4 up to 17. So if I have 3 children over in their teens, I'm going to get $9,000. What the IRS is doing now, they're cutting that in half, and they're splitting that in 6 monthly payments. So they're gonna just send me a check, and that's what people got in a check. Some people got 3 checks in the mail from the IRS in July, right? Child tax credit.
Wow.
They got the money from the unemployment because some people pay taxes on unemployment, and after they paid the taxes, the IRS said, or the Congress said, well, we're not going to tax you on unemployment. So they had to give them a refund. So they got that refund. And then sometimes people even got a stimulus check that was still out there. So they were getting money from the IRS. So usually pay the IRS.
Right. It is. I mean, obviously so many things related to the pandemic and the business and the health and how it was affected has never, at least in lifetimes of people that we know, happened before. But still, with the IRS, you think you know them, right? And you think that it's sort of a one-way street and the money goes in and it doesn't necessarily come out. Maybe some of the money you already paid in comes out. We have 3 kids, and so we're familiar with the child tax credit. But Your thoughts, and maybe I guess surprised that they would do it as a check, like that they would just send you the money first.
Well, again, it's about they gave out 3 stimulus checks since COVID, right? So they can't keep giving out the money, so they got to think of another way to put money in the taxpayers' pockets to pay their bills. And this was a way they can do that, and I think it's effective in the sense that you're getting the money first, and so you can use it monthly.
In the way that they describe it, and oftentimes politicians will come out and describe things in ways that it just highlight just how great it is, and the impact. And so they're saying that this is the biggest stimulus or impact for children in the history of the country and things like that. It certainly is significant. It's a significant sum of money that they're doing. But is it one of those things where, do you see this as something that people, because once you do it, look at the tollways. Remember when that happened? It was supposed to be for like a year or so. That there's going to be, and probably already happened. I think they were trying to introduce that legislation that people aren't going to say, okay, well, this just gets us through the pandemic. This is like, where's my check next year?
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, that's always the danger. But again, you were getting this tax credit anyway, or much of it. They're just giving it to you in advance. And so what that's going to happen is that you're not going to get that next year, right? You're when it comes time to pay your taxes, you're not going to get that credit. They've already given it to you. So your taxes bill is probably going to be higher.
As people have gotten a hold of you and said, well, I've heard about it, saw it in the news, and they want to get it. A lot of people, you saw the news reports, got it as a direct deposit back on the 15th. For those people that either didn't or don't know if they qualify, what are the rules with the tax credit?
Well, what happens is they're going to look at your 2019 or 2020 tax return, and they're going to base it on that. So the most common question I get is, why are they sending me money I don't qualify? And that's happening.
So as a point of pride, some people would say, hey, I don't want this money.
Well, they're afraid that if they get paid, you're going to have to pay it back. Right. But here, the good part is if they overpay you, and what's happening, right, is that and you probably heard this, the IRS has not processed all the 2020 tax returns yet. And so some people made less money in 2019 than they did in 2020. So if the IRS looked at their 2020 tax return, they wouldn't have qualified. But because it hasn't been processed yet, they're using 2019. So the good news is this: you just have to pay it back, right? So it's going to be a interest-free loan to you. Of course, if you don't have the money, that's gonna hurt.
Let the listeners know we're talking with attorney Stephen A. Leahy. And so as the people get that, and you mentioned that they haven't even processed all of, which is unfathomable, right? Because it seems like everything happens electronically these days.
Yes.
They haven't even processed the returns. But you look at business and in so many different sectors where either they're short-staffed or because of the pandemic, people were working from home. This is all very sensitive financial information. I don't know if you can have like a home-based IRS agent kind of setup. Maybe you can.
They were working out of the home, of course, a lot of the IRS activity came to a halt. They weren't processing anything. They were as someone in my business, when I'm trying to contact the IRS, almost impossible to get in touch with them. For anybody, and they have practitioner lines where you can contact, but they weren't even answering those phones. So it was very difficult to contact them.
So the IRS today is one that maybe you, as a regular tax professional, would not necessarily recognize. But is this part of maybe kind of new? And we'll talk about it at length, I think, in the next segment. But is it like a different IRS? Are they easier to work with now than maybe they have been in the past?
The answer is no. No, they're not. Okay, they're going to be harder. And I think we're going to talk about taxes and how the IRS is amping up to go after more people. Why? Because they need the money, right? So they have all these spending programs, and they don't want to tell anybody that they're going to raise your taxes. So what they're telling you is, oh, don't worry, we're going to go after the tax cheats, the cryptocurrency evaders, the billionaires. But in the end, they're coming after small businesses. That's who's going to pay, because that's who's going to get audited. And that's where so they're not better. They're not a nicer IRS.
Oh, you never know. We're trying to soften the image a little bit. So
I know.
If people do want to get more information on the child tax credit and see if they're eligible, is it just irs.gov, or are there sites that you've directed clients or people that have asked you to go
Actually,
to?
the irs.gov is good, but if you want to go to the portal, let them know what you're making, or if you want to opt out, I set up a website, tinyurl.com/IRS portal. And that way, that's the best. Otherwise, it's a very long URL. So again, tinyurl.com/IRS portal. And you can get some info. You can go to the portal that way.
If you already have been signed up, and let's say you got one of the stimulus checks or two of them or three of them, but maybe your banking information has changed at this point because it's different. Is there a place on that portal to go ahead and adjust that?
Yes. That's where you can go and just make sure that they have your proper bank account. Again, you can opt out. If you didn't file your 2019 or 2020 tax returns, you can go there and tell them that I'm eligible, and they'll send you the money, even if you haven't filed your tax return.
Wow. Okay. So this is some great insight and ways to at least work with, whether it's the kinder, gentler or not, IRS. Let the listeners know we're talking with attorney Stephen A. Leahy. When we come back in the next segment, we are going to talk a little bit about the IRS. For the longest time, people have said there's too many loopholes. It's too complicated. Let's kind of streamline and simplify. And what kind of recourse do people have if they haven't paid their taxes or if they've got questions about that and dealing with this either new or not new IRS? So keep it here. It's Let's Get Legal on 720 WGN.
Chicago's very own WGN.
Thinking about getting divorced? If you are, think of Anna Krolikowska at Anna K. Law. With Anna, you can divorce without all the fighting you see in the movies. Anna Krolikowska offers customized divorce strategies. She's a collaboratively trained divorce attorney, a mediator, a family law super lawyer, and president of the Illinois State Bar Association. Anna works with clients using mediation, collaborative divorce process, or the litigated approach. Contact Anna by emailing Anna at annklaw.com or call 847-715-9328.
Make sure you breathe clean, healthy air. Green Tea is now offering an in-depth total home disinfectant service.
Service to a Green Tea.
Hi, this is Tonya Khoury from my family business, Green Tea Air Duct Cleaning. Our crews are bonded Green Tea employees you can trust in your home. They'll clean your intakes and returns of dust, mold, and allergens. You'll breathe fresh, healthy air.
800-5 Green Tea.
And now, for a limited time, get our air duct cleaning special, only $97. Yes, our experienced staff will thoroughly clean your air ducts for just $97. Plus, our 100% satisfaction Green Tea guarantee. Call Green Tea now for details. 800-5 Green Tea.
Green Tea Services. Service to a Green Tea. 800-5 Green Tea.
Be sure to ask us about our in-depth total home disinfectant service. Call Green Tea now, 800-5 Green Tea, or greenteaservices.com.
On our first date, we had masks on and kept 6 feet apart. Now we're a lot closer.
Just like Cliff and Deb, thousands of singles over 50 found their perfect match on Silver Singles last year.
I feel like I'm 20 years old again, and I'm pretty sure she feels the same way.
Rediscover the magic of dating with Silver Singles, the exclusive community for singles over 50. Sign up today and receive daily matches you won't want to miss at silversingles.com/radio. silversingles.com/radio.
Antenna TV.
Saturday night means big laughs. Bewitched. I Dream of Jeannie and Burns and Allen. Watch Saturday night classic comedies on Antenna TV, over the air, or check your cable listings.
Hello, Chicago. Ashley Banfield here. Tune into Banfield weeknights on News Nation and let's talk. Find us on Comcast Channel 223, DirecTV 307, and AT&T Uverse 1180. That's Banfield weeknights at 9 on News Nation.
The Midwestern University Eye Institute, located in Downers Grove, provides comprehensive care at an affordable price, including eye exams for contact lenses, vision therapy, treatment for eye diseases, and low vision rehabilitation services. Also offering eye care for pediatric patients and patients with special needs. Visit their newly expanded optical center. Learn more at mwclinics.com or call 630-743-4500. The Eye Institute at the Midwestern University Multi-Specialty Clinic, your family's home for healthcare. And we are back. We're still here, right? It is Let's Get Legal, powered by the Illinois State Bar Association. I'm Dane Neal here with you, along in studio with attorney Stephen A. Leahy, and we are talking about many of the issues. One of the things, what they always say, right? What does everybody have in common? It's death and taxes, right? And so you're a guy that is often in demand, and now not only just kind of navigating sort of the confusing waters of how the tax world works, but now it's mysterious, right? Because there are so many things that the IRS is doing that they don't always do. In the last segment, we said that you're skeptical, maybe jaded and cynical, and maybe educated in the way that it may not be a kinder, gentler IRS, and that there could be some ways once they sort of regroup back from the pandemic and maybe get their footing, that it could be even tougher.
Well, they are talking about the budget, the IRS budget, because they want to go after, they keep telling you they're going after tax cheats. It's like the presidential election whenever they tell you they're going to get rid of fraud and abuse. And this is how they're going to pay for it.
Drain the swamp, right? Yeah. That's what you got to do.
We're going to get rid of all the fraud and abuse, and then we don't have to raise anybody's taxes. But they never get rid of the fraud and abuse. And it's the same thing here with taxes. We're going to get rid of all the tax cheaters, all the cryptocurrency people who are cheating, all the billionaires. We're going to get them to pay. And in the end, who's going to pay is small business people. That's who's going to pay.
Now, why is that? Because, Stephen, you'd think that at some point they could figure it out. Or is it just that your crypto criminals and your wealthy people who have really good attorneys to figure out the landscape and do that? Is that you're just always going to be a step ahead of people on the government side?
And they've been talking about getting that, getting them to pay their fair share for 30 years. Right. So is that going to stop next year? The answer is no, it's not going to stop next year. And they're going to still keep going up. So I always tell people, who pays the most taxes in our society? Small business people, because you're paying. If I'm an employee, my employer's paying half of my Medicare and half my Social Security. If I'm working for myself, I'm paying that. And so you don't set up, small business people don't set up correctly, and they pay too much in taxes. So if they can just organize better, they could probably reduce their tax bill.
We have a lot. Obviously, WGN Radio reaches 38 states in Canada at night, the greater Midwest at all times. And many of those people work in and around or are small business people. And so for some of the programs that are out there, we've talked about the child tax credit and the stimulus and some of those things on the business side. For restaurants, there were some programs that were built for that. For other businesses, are there any that you know of that you think, hey, this is something if you know, you should get in on?
You mean where the IRS is, because these were programs like for restaurants, they had the money where they had the grant money and they were giving out the grants, kind of like the PPP money.
Right. Are there ways where businesses can kind of either defer what they owe on the small business side or maybe work around it, or maybe, I don't know, are there things in place to kind of support them?
Well, if you owe the IRS money, there's things you can do to pay them. And you have to take those actions in order, because they do have programs where you can pay what you can rather than pay what you owe. And there's a big difference there, right? So if I owe the IRS a lot of money, but I can't pay them, again, there's programs for that. You have to be careful because you keep hearing about pay pennies on the dollar, pay pennies on the dollar.
You hear those commercials all the time. I mean, is that, it seems, as someone who is sort of jaded and cynical, it seems like you'd be skeptical. Is that a real thing?
Well, this is called the offer and compromise. And the offer and compromise is just that, where you can pay, you make an offer to the IRS, but it's not based on some number where you just come up with it. There's a form that you fill out that details this. But here's the cold hard facts about the offer and compromise, and that's what I want everybody to know. The IRS last year solved or settled 7.4 million cases. They usually do about 10 million of these collection cases. What that means, people owe money and they come up with a remedy. Of those 7.4 million cases, 14,000 were offers and compromise. So that's 0.2% of all these cases are solved that way. So when you hear these commercials,
you hear it like it's almost a turnkey thing. Anyone just call us and we're going to get it done.
Exactly. And I hear it all the time. And I always say, if I asked 500 of my clients, who wants the offer and compromise, right? 500 hands going, no. Everybody wants that. And so why do you hear about it on the radio? Because that's what everybody wants. And that's what you want to hear. So that's what's going to make you call. But in the end, there's a lot of bad things about that because it extends the time that the IRS can come after you. So it sounds like a good thing, but in the end, very few people get it.
And when you have to dispense a little bit of truth, a little bit of tough love to people, sometimes it may not be the information that people want. If people do have for the offer and compromise, what is a typical situation, even if it is rare, where it does work out? Is it the fact that maybe their situation has changed to such a degree that they're never going to have that money? Or is it just where they've taken that big sum and instead of saying, we want it now, they give you, 10 years to pay it? How does it work?
Well, the answer is there are times when That's what you have to prove. You have to prove what they call doubt to collectability. I'm never going to be able to pay you, right? If you could prove that, then they'll take the offer. But if you can't prove that, usually if you're younger and you're going to work for the next 10 years, they're not going to give you an offer. Sometimes the best is the people that are older on a fixed income. But one of the problems with that is that if you have equity in your home, you're not going to get an offer in compromise. If I have a lot of money or some money in retirement, you're not going to get an offer in compromise because you're going to have to deliver all of that money to them as part of the offer. So this is the kind of, that's why the numbers are so low, because not too many people will qualify.
As things change, and we talked at the beginning of the segment about whether the IRS will sort of, I don't want to say necessarily reform, but kind of maybe improve and streamline, because so much is done online. You do your taxes now online. So instead of, in my mind, I think of the IRS headquarters with a bunch of people at desks and lots of file cabinets and people writing and typing, and it's just not like that anymore, right? So have they scaled back just based on not needing as many people?
Well, they haven't, and you keep hearing that the IRS is down, and I think that's very perceptive of you to see this, because this year about 94% of all tax returns were done electronically, right? In 2010, that number was probably 30%. So the number keeps every year has gone up, and so it takes a lot less people to process these returns. And so what are they doing then, right? So when their budget comes down and everybody says, well, that's why we can't collect. It's like, well, what about all these other things that are easier to do now?
Well, and there's probably, I know that there are some offices around the Chicagoland area. I think there's one out in maybe Downers Grove, and I'm sure there's some
Schiller Park
in the city. So they've got to be there so people can come in, and not everybody's super savvy on the computer side, even though we're seeing a lot more people getting in that way. So is it the kind of thing that you've seen, maybe that physical brick and mortar presence, just like we've seen in so many other industries, sort of constricting? I mean, is it changing, or is it the kind of thing where they feel, they do have to have that, I think, person to person presence out there in the world?
Well, first off, I don't think too many people want to get person to person with the IRS. Right? So it's true. It's just true.
I've been there. It's kind of an intimidating.
It is. They have that little room that you walk in. They got
cubicle, and you kind of set in there. And I don't know if on the training side, certainly there's a lot of training that you need on financial literacy and all that. But I wonder if they're trained to be, and maybe you'll know this, like if they're trained to give off a certain vibe, like to be stern, or if there's ever like friendly people. You mentioned as an organization, maybe not new and friendly, but the people themselves.
Well, like any other industry, they have nice people. I don't know if I always say there's two types of IRS people. One I call Attila the Hun, because they're the meanest person you ever met in your life. The other one I call Mother Teresa, because they're very nice and they treat you well. But in the end, I think they're both trying to do the same thing.
Do their job.
And they're just trying to get information from you. And they just found a better way to do that, is maybe be nice to you, and because people are looking for a lifeline.
Right.
Right. So you're looking for someone to be nice to you.
It's a stressful situation. You want people to be able to work with you. If you want somebody nice that's also going to give it to you straight, right? Maybe dispense a little bit of tough love with truth along with it. It's attorney Stephen A. Leahy. And so as we let you go, give us information on how people can get a hold of you, contact you with either questions or get some support.
So two ways. You can go to WGNtaxman.com. Again, that's WGNtaxman.com. Or you can call me, 312-664-6649.
Stephen A. Leahy. I think just kind of like sharing a lot of the information a lot of people are wondering about, and of course things we need to know on the tax side. Thanks so much for everything you're doing. Thanks for being on Let's Get Legal.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we come back after the news. We're going to have Pat Walsh. He's going to talk about, you think about kids and tax credit, you think about the vaccination